The wife of CEO James Harrington was a fool. When the CEO's first love returned, the fool became even more detested. Amidst the scornful gazes of everyone, only Robert, the CEO's brother, continued to treat her gently, even more dotingly. So, the fool naturally gravitated towards him. Just when I thought I had found someone to rely on again, I overheard Robert Harrington and James Harrington talking. Everything is arranged. In a few days, the photos of Lily Lewis and me will be shown at her birthday party/celebration. The public opinion will lean towards you then. You've sacrificed too much for me. I wasn't doing it for you. I was doing it for Sarah Miller. As for Lily Lewis, although she's a fool, we did wrong by her. I'll spend my whole life making it up to her. As for your life, you need to treat Sarah Miller well. Otherwise, even if you're my brother, I won't let you off the hook. It turned out Robert Harrington didn't like me either. He liked Sarah Miller too. He was just pretending to like me, making everyone hate me. That way, no one would talk about James Harrington and Sarah Miller. I didn't understand, but no one would explain it to a fool like me. And no one cared about a fool's thoughts or feelings. Mom named me Lily Lewis, hoping I'd be like a fish with a 7-second memory. To forget unpleasant things. So, I must forget quickly, swim away quickly. Become a happy little fish again. 1. I didn't continue listening to the conversation inside the house. I turned and left. If it were before, I would have burst in and accused them, asking what I had done wrong. The old me would have demanded an answer, but not anymore. Because I already knew the answer. I came to the garden and saw the sunflowers I had planted. They had just started to bud, not yet bloomed. My tears fell, and I finally couldn't stop crying. Why did it have to be this way? If he liked Sarah Miller, I wouldn't cling to him. When I learned James Harrington liked Sarah Miller, I said I would step aside for them. But why wasn't stepping aside enough? Why did they still need to scheme against me? I didn't understand. Just then, a question came to my ear, and my tears were gently wiped away. It was Robert Harrington. He looked at me worriedly, asking why I was crying. I looked at him, wanting to ask him why he treated me this way, why he ganged up with James Harrington to bully me. But in the end, I didn't ask. I just pointed to the sunflowers in the distance. They haven't bloomed yet. Robert Harrington sighed with relief. Is that all? What's there to cry about? He rubbed my head. I thought you were being bullied. If I were being bullied, what would you do? Of course, I'd beat that person to death. How dare they bully our Lily? Looking at Robert Harrington, my nose stung, and I wanted to cry again. Robert Harrington, the ones who bully me the most are you and your brother. I hate you. 2. Robert Harrington really hated me before. James Harrington said he was still young, so his temper was a bit volatile. Although people always called me a fool, I felt that since I was married to James Harrington. Then I was his elder, so I was very tolerant of Robert Harrington. Even when he stole my snacks, I generously gave them all to him. I didn't care when he called me a fool. When he threw away my clothes, I just said I didn't want them anymore. But my tolerance didn't make Robert Harrington like me. Instead, he bullied me even more. I was sad for a while. James Harrington comforted me, saying I didn't need everyone to like me. As long as he liked me, it was enough. Although I was happy that James Harrington liked me. But Mom said family is the closest bond. Robert Harrington was James Harrington's family, so he was my family too. So I kept trying to please Robert Harrington, but he never appreciated it. But ever since Sarah Miller appeared, Robert Harrington's attitude towards me changed. He even became increasingly kind, treating me better than James Harrington did. Later they told me that the person James Harrington truly loved was Sarah Miller. He married me only out of necessity. Although I was a little sad to hear this, Robert Harrington said he had always liked me and that he was just jealous during the time he treated me poorly. Even though I didn't know what jealous meant, Robert Harrington's words dispelled my unhappiness. Now I liked Robert Harrington. Lily, what are you thinking about? Robert Harrington put his arm around me, bringing me back to my senses. Looking at Robert Harrington in front of me, I still didn't want to believe that his affection was fake. I pretended to ask casually, Robert, are James and I really divorced? Hearing this, a flicker of guilt crossed Robert Harrington's face. Of course. Why are you suddenly asking about this? My heart grew more disappointed. Robert Harrington, you really did lie to me. It's nothing, it's just my mom said that if you get married and then leave, you have to get a divorce. Don't worry, you signed the papers yourself, he said, kissing the corner of my mouth. Besides, how could I marry you if you weren't divorced? I can't wait to make you my wife. As he spoke, he leaned over and pressed down on me. I didn't really understand these things, but men always seemed eager to do them. They said James Harrington didn't like me, but James Harrington did it with me almost every day. Robert Harrington clearly liked Sarah Miller too, yet he still did this with me. Didn't Mom say that this kind of thing is only for people who like each other? Didn't Mom say that only people who like each other can be husband and wife? But James Harrington didn't like me, and Robert Harrington didn't like me either. Mom's a big liar. But even if Mom lied to me, I still loved Mom. I looked at the shaking ceiling and tears streamed down. I missed Mom. 3. See, it's all your fault FO. Are insisting on naming her Lily Lewis. Now look, she's really become a fool. What does the name have to do with it? Mom retorted indignantly. You're named He She Hua. Are you really the wisest person? Dad and Mom were arguing. But actually, Dad didn't hate me, nor did he truly dislike me. He just felt sorry for me, sorry for the difficult life I would have. Mom was also worried, so she often told me, Lily, if you have unhappy things, you should be like a little fish. After 7 seconds, we'll be a happy little fish again. Okay? I nodded and promised Mom. So I forgot all the unpleasant things. But now, I had broken my promise to Mom. There was one sad thing I could never forget. That was when Mom left me after a car accident. I broke my promise just this once, Mom shouldn't be angry with me. But now, I was about to break it a second time. I'm sorry, Mom, I'm a bad child. I woke up crying. When I got up and went downstairs, Robert Harrington was making breakfast for me. Watching his busy back, I felt like an invisible hand was mercilessly squeezing my heart. Robert Harrington, who wouldn't even eat breakfast with me before, could now pretend to this extent for Sarah Miller. Robert Harrington turned around, saw me, put the breakfast on the table, and ruffled my hair. Breakfast is ready, come eat quickly. Suddenly I felt a little sad. I wanted to fight for myself. Robert Harrington. Robert Harrington looked at me. What is it? You look so serious. The photos we took together, you didn't give them to anyone, did you? No, I didn't. Robert Harrington answered quickly, as if trying to hide his guilt. I lost all hope. If Robert Harrington had told the truth, I would have forgiven him. But he was still hiding it from me. Why are you suddenly asking this? His tone was probing. I put on a shy expression. Because all our photos were taken in bed, and also photos of us kissing. Those kinds of photos aren't good. You can't show them to other people. That's right. Robert Harrington and I took photos after things were over, or photos of him pulling me to sit on his lap, and photos of us kissing. Back then, I didn't understand why he always wanted to take those photos. Now I understood. He did it for Sarah Miller. Robert Harrington smiled very honestly. Of course. Those looks of yours are only for me to see. No one else can see them. He leaned in to kiss me, but I dodged him. Robert Harrington, if someone else sees them, I'll hate you and leave you. Being stared at so seriously by me, Robert Harrington felt a strange unease in his heart. They won't. Okay, then. Let's eat breakfast. I lowered my head and started eating breakfast. Robert Harrington wondered if I had noticed something. But then he thought, what could a fool like me possibly notice? So he didn't dwell on it. Liar. Robert Harrington, big liar. He had clearly given those photos to reporters, just waiting to release them on the day of my birthday party/celebration. That way, everyone would know I was the one who cheated, that I was the one who wronged James Harrington. I didn't understand. I had already said I wanted to divorce James Harrington. But why did they still have to do this? My simple mind couldn't grasp what public opinion and reputation were. Even if netizens said James Harrington and I were mismatched, if we divorced, they would say James Harrington disliked me, the fool. Sarah Miller would also be cursed at. They didn't want Sarah Miller to be cursed at, so they wanted to push all the blame onto me. Strategic considerations, a fool like me wouldn't know about those. I would just be abandoned. I just thought, maybe Robert Harrington had a little bit of sincerity towards me. I had said such serious things. He should give up, right? For Robert Harrington and I were staying elsewhere because I didn't like Sarah Miller. When James Harrington and I were still together, no matter what I said, he always wouldn't leave. He said, my mom and brother are here. Why should I leave? Then make Sarah Miller leave. That was the 9th day Sarah Miller had been there. I went from wanting to be close to her to hating her. I didn't know why someone could be so annoying. She clearly fell herself, but she said I pushed her. James Harrington didn't even believe me. He insisted I apologize to her. I refused, so James Harrington ignored me. He started giving me the cold shoulder. Every time, I was the one who couldn't stand it first and apologized. Don't ignore me. I clutched James Harrington's sleeve pitifully. You used to watch TV and eat snacks with me. You also used to make desserts for me, but you haven't lately. And you haven't planted sunflowers with me. James Harrington had promised to plant them with me and eat the sunflower seeds together. But ever since Sarah Miller came, James Harrington had never done that again. He was always with Sarah Miller. And when he wasn't around, Sarah Miller would turn into a completely different person. That beautiful pair of eyes would fill with malice, and her mouth would open and close, just cursing at me. You're a fool. James Harrington only married you because of responsibility. You can't compare to me at all. It won't be long before he abandons you. Your mind is so childlike. You must be useless in bed. Can you satisfy James Harrington? If it weren't for your mom forcing James Harrington, why would he marry a fool like you? Most of what she said I didn't understand, and it was full of malice. I didn't want to get angry, but she actually talked about my mom. I angrily pushed her away. Don't you dare talk about my mom. Then she actually fell to the ground. My strength wasn't that great. James Harrington, who came back sometime, pushed me away and helped Sarah Miller up. Sarah Miller, in front of James Harrington, was a different person again. She leaned weakly on Harrington. Don't blame Lily. It's my own fault for not pleasing her. I was just trying to talk about some fun times we had before. Maybe Lily felt left out, so she got angry. You're lying. What fun times? Sarah Miller was clearly cursing at me. But James Harrington cut me off, sternly scolding me. Sarah Miller was being kind. What are you throwing a tantrum for? I was about to say I wasn't, but James Harrington said again, stop acting like a child. Lily Lewis, you're not little anymore. Just because you're a fool, does everyone have to indulge you? James Harrington left with Sarah Miller. He didn't see the tears streaming down my face, nor did he see my hand bleeding from hitting the table. James Harrington is a big bad guy. That night, I strongly demanded James Harrington kick Sarah Miller out. But James Harrington just looked at me with disappointment, telling me not to be so selfish. But after I was with Robert Harrington, as soon as I said I wanted to leave, he immediately took me away. I thought that was love. But it was just acting. 5. The day before my birthday party/celebration, Sarah Miller came to see me. She said she thanked me for stepping aside. She said it was because I stole James Harrington, so it was only natural for him to hate me. Now that James Harrington was hers, she didn't hate me anymore either. I really thought that was the case, so I put aside the past unpleasantness and got along well with her. Although Robert Harrington and James Harrington were both annoying, it had nothing to do with Sarah Miller. I drank the beverage Sarah Miller gave me. Although it was a bit spicy, I was still too embarrassed to refuse her initiative. In the end, my consciousness became increasingly blurry. When I woke up again, it was already the next morning. I felt uncomfortable and sore all over my body. I thought maybe Robert Harrington had done it last night. But for some reason, I had no memory of it at all. The birthday party/celebration began. Looking at Robert Harrington beside me, I felt a little sad. If photos were indeed shown later, I would break up with him. If not, then I would forgive him. Robert Harrington, don't disappoint me. Finally, the photos were shown. But they weren't of Robert Harrington and me. 6. Because I was a fool, those people looked down on me before, so I didn't like them either. I only celebrated my birthday with Mom and Dad. Later, when I came to the Harrington family, they felt embarrassed, so they wouldn't hold any banquets. Only James Harrington celebrated with me. And the only banquet was to manipulate against me. I hoped Robert Harrington had a little sincerity. But he still released the photos. Watching him go find the staff, I closed my eyes in disappointment. When the photos were shown later, I would tell everyone everything. They weren't nice to me, so I wouldn't be nice to them either. But when the big screen lit up, what was scrolling was not me and Robert Harrington. It was me and another strange man. I was caught off guard by this sudden change. Subconsciously, I looked towards Robert Harrington. But he wasn't looking at me, only at the screen with an unpleasant expression. On the screen, I was making intimate gestures with 2 or 3 strange men. Finally, the photos even turned into a video. My difficult gasps and moans and the men's heavy breathing mixed and echoed in every corner of the banquet hall. I looked at Robert Harrington and then at James Harrington, at a loss. But they just looked at the video with rage. The reporters frantically took pictures of me and the screen. Countless flashbulbs focused on me. I nervously backed away. This Harrington family wife is a fool. James Harrington not disliking her is already good, but she still dares to cheat. Didn't they say this fool has the intelligence of a 5-year-old? She can still do that with people? What about 5 years old? Her body is that of an adult. She looks full-figured and hot. I don't believe she doesn't have desires. Does she understand these things? If she doesn't understand, you can teach her. And does a fool like her know what shame is? She's probably very wild in bed. Waves of discussion reached my ears. I didn't understand the words, but I could feel their malice. Their faces were full of excitement, their eyes held looks I couldn't comprehend. I wanted to escape, I wanted to rely on someone. But James Harrington and Robert Harrington just watched my helplessness from a distance. They looked at me angrily, watching me panic and feel helpless alone. But they kept standing beside Sarah Miller, protecting her. And the surprised Sarah Miller, when I looked at her, gave me a triumphant look. I suddenly realized. It was Sarah Miller. Yesterday, Sarah Miller and I were still drinking. When I woke up, she was gone, and I felt particularly uncomfortable. She manipulated against me. It was Sarah Miller, that big bad guy. I angrily tried to rush over. She schemed against me. But I was pushed down by Robert Harrington and fell onto the ground. In my injured eyes, Robert Harrington hesitated for a moment but still shielded Sarah Miller. You did something shameless like this yourself. What are you blaming Sarah Miller for? Although I knew he liked Sarah Miller, my heart still hurt. Do you really think I did it? Robert Harrington looked away and didn't reply, but his attitude confirmed it. I looked at James Harrington again. He just stood there in silence, looking at me with disappointment. I believe I treated you well. My heart died completely. I had been with them for so long, but in the end, not a single person believed me. Dirty words continued to pour out, but they just frowned and covered Sarah Miller's ears, afraid she would hear these bad things. While I just sat there miserably on the ground, ignored by everyone. 7. I started to laugh wildly, tears falling with the laughter. What are you laughing at? I laughed at myself for still having expectations of him, for my foolish fantasies. I hate you. All of you in the Harrington family, I hate you. Looking into James Harrington's and Robert Harrington's eyes, I said resolutely, I don't want any of you anymore. Finally, I rushed out of the banquet hall and walked alone and aimlessly on the street. Mom was gone, and I didn't want the Harrington family anymore. Where could I go now? I walked and walked, until evening, and no one came to find me. I shivered in my thin formal dress/gown on the night street. From now on, I was a little fish out of water. No one would pick me up and put me back in the water, and no one loved me anymore. I huddled against the wall, thinking blankly. Tears flowed down again involuntarily. Liars, all big liars. Mom said she would always stay with me. James Harrington said he would always take care of me. Robert Harrington said he would always love me. But none of them did it. They were all big liars. I fell asleep holding back tears without realizing it. When I woke up again, my body felt uncomfortable, my head heavy and groggy. Still no one came for me. I walked on the street, desperate and confused. My stomach ached with hunger, and my body felt increasingly heavy. Lily. Just then, an anxious voice appeared before me, and I was hugged tightly by someone. You silly girl, why didn't you come find Dad when something happened? I looked up. It was Dad. Dad looked at me with worried anxiety. I felt as if I had found someone to rely on again. I grabbed Dad's hand and started crying. Dad, they all bullied me. My consciousness faded into a haze. Dad picked up my sliding body. I leaned against him unconsciously, finally letting go of my worries. 8. Dad brought me home. I finally found someone to rely on again. I clung to him, just like before. I thought I could be a happy little fish again. But God always reached out a hand and kept pushing me toward sad tears. Dad's new wife didn't like me. She always wanted to drive me away. She said I was a shameless fool. The Harrington family is looking for her. Hand her over. Both of the Harrington family sons are beasts. But she's just a fool. I don't care if you keep her, but now the Harrington family wants her. They're willing to give you a profit on that west side of town deal. Dad hesitated. The woman continued, besides, she's your daughter. Isn't the one in my belly yours too? What if this fool passes her foolishness to the baby? What if she hurts our child? Lily wouldn't. She's just a fool. Dad and the woman talked for a long time. Finally, Dad came to the room, his eyes full of apology. Lily, today, Dad is going to take you somewhere. I nodded. Okay. I had already guessed the outcome. Dad loved me, but he loved his current wife more. He was no longer my reliance. Dad brought me to the Harrington family. I didn't cry or make a fuss, as if I had expected it all along. In Dad's surprised eyes, I offered a beautiful smile. Goodbye, Dad. From now on, you won't be my dad anymore. Dad suddenly felt a little flustered. Just as he was about to say something, James Harrington and Robert Harrington came out and took me away. He looked at my retreating back, opened his mouth, but still said nothing, and turned to leave. He thought to himself, I'll come see Lily more often in the future, to comfort his uneasy emotions. 9. You messed up and still dared to run away? Robert Harrington dragged me into the house by my hand. I cried out in pain, but he ignored me. When did you get involved with those people? He looked at me with a terrifying gaze. I shrunk back a little in fear. I don't even know them. But Robert Harrington didn't believe me and kept asking who they were, regardless of my answers. James Harrington watched from the side, rubbing his forehead helplessly. Do you have any idea how much shame you've brought upon our family? But Sarah Miller is the one who hurt me in this matter. Silence! James Harrington suddenly roared. I flinched, trembling. Sarah Miller has been speaking well of you these past few days, worrying about where you went, whether you would get hurt. Yet you only think about wronging her. Didn't you say you don't like me anymore? Why are you still jealous of Sarah Miller? It's true I didn't like James Harrington anymore, but I wasn't jealous of Sarah Miller. Perhaps at first, I would have been angry about James Harrington's attitude, but didn't I know the truth later? Did I choose to give up? Robert Harrington and James Harrington were unexpectedly persistent and angry about this matter. I could understand Robert Harrington, but what was James Harrington angry about? Whatever they were angry about, I hated them. They didn't believe me, yet they kept asking me again and again. Robert Harrington kept me locked in the room every day, checking my body, frantically asking if I had seen anyone else or done that kind of thing during these past few days. You've been keeping me locked up. I don't even have time to contact those people, I said very seriously, thinking he was a bit silly. Where would I have the time to contact the outside world? But Robert Harrington became even angrier. He forcefully restrained me, forcing me to do it again and again. I hated him even more. I wouldn't stay in the Harrington family forever. I said I didn't want it, and I meant it. I wanted to swim from the fish tank to the ocean, to continue fulfilling my promise to Mom, to be a happy little fish. 10. Sarah Miller came to see me. Robert Harrington and James Harrington weren't home at the time. She forcefully pulled me to watch a video. She plugged the USB drive into the computer, and the video quickly played. My face changed. It was the video from that day. I told you, yo. You were a bad person. You're the one who hurt me, I angrily accused Sarah Miller. She scoffed disdainfully. Yes, I am. So what? Go tell James and Robert. They won't believe you. No one will believe you, you fool. Sarah Miller's face was full of contempt. You were used by others, and so many people saw your body. How can you still live as if nothing happened? I didn't understand. Why can't I live? I'm not the one who did something wrong. Indeed, a fool. You don't even have a sense of shame. I have a sense of shame, but only when I do something wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I am innocent. Why should I feel shame? You're the one who should feel shame. You lied to everyone. You're a bad person. If you had any self-awareness, you'd leave the Harrington family. Sarah Miller didn't care about me calling her a bad person. No one likes you, yet you can still live as if nothing happened. I'm embarrassed for you. James Harrington doesn't like you. If it weren't for your mom forcing him with her power, he wouldn't have married you. Robert Harrington hates you too. If it weren't for me, why would he pretend to be in love with you? Even your dad doesn't like you. He threw you back like a hot potato. You're lying. I angrily interrupted her. My mom didn't force James Harrington. He said he liked me and wanted to marry me himself. And how do you know Robert Harrington was only pretending to like me? Sarah Miller looked at me triumphantly. Because it was my idea for him to seduce you. My face turned pale. I looked at Sarah Miller in disbelief. What did she mean? Both James Harrington and Robert Harrington like me, but I made it clear to Robert Harrington that I liked James Harrington. So, Robert Harrington couldn't bear to see the person he liked sad. At Sarah Miller's suggestion, he decided to seduce me, to make me voluntarily give up James Harrington and make way for Sarah Miller. Do you know, Robert Harrington hated you so much that he complained to me every day about how foolish and idiotic you were. He could barely stand you. Every time he saw you, he wanted to vomit, but he still had to act affectionately. Lily Lewis, you annoying fool. Everyone dislikes you. Everyone is unhappy because of you. I even think your mom died because she couldn't stand you anymore and got sick. Just to get rid of you. Why don't you just die? Sarah Miller's malicious words echoed in my ears. 11. Me. Is my existence really that detestable? I looked at myself in the mirror. A delicate, mature face, a full and shapely body. But in reality, my understanding was still like that of a 5-year-old child. Is it? Is it really because I made Mom too tired that she got sick and left? Did Dad and Mom divorce because they didn't love each other anymore? It must have been because of me that they divorced. I made Dad and Mom unhappy. I made everyone unhappy. Everyone dislikes me. Mrs. Harrington left the house because of me. James Harrington, Robert Harrington, and Sarah Miller clearly liked each other, but because of me, things turned out this way. I abruptly picked up something nearby and threw it at the mirror. The mirror shattered into pieces. Even I didn't like myself. Why should a fool like me keep living? I picked up a shard of mirror from the ground and walked towards the bathroom. My numb, disgusted eyes were reflected in the fragment. I cut my wrist. A large amount of crimson appeared before my eyes. Then it was gradually swallowed by blackness. Finally, in the endless darkness, I saw Mom. I didn't go forward, I just greedily looked at Mom's face. Goodbye, Mom. In the next life, please don't be my mom anymore. Don't be so tired anymore. 12. For some reason, James Harrington's heart felt inexplicably restless today. He forced himself through a meeting, but as it neared its end, his heart suddenly seized up. Boundless fear flooded his chest. He decided to go home and check. The house was unusually quiet. As soon as he entered, he ran into Robert Harrington, who had returned in a panic. They exchanged glances, both harboring unpleasant suspicions. They rushed into the bedroom but didn't find anyone. Then they headed straight for the bathroom. And there, they saw a scene he would never forget in his life. Lily Lewis lay in the bathtub, her entire body stained red with blood. Her bloody dress spread out like a vibrant fishtail. Lily Lewis looked exactly like a fish at that moment, quietly and lifelessly dead in the bathtub, bringing a powerful visual impact to them. Robert Harrington let out a wail. He rushed over and slapped Lily Lewis's face. But Lily Lewis had already stopped breathing. James Harrington finally reacted then and quickly called for emergency help. His heart pounded intensely. Impossible. How could Lily Lewis die? Didn't she still have so many things to do? How could she die? Lily Lewis was dead. 13. Originally, James Harrington thought his feelings for Lily Lewis were just a matter of responsibility. Because the Harrington family had problems, they had no choice but to ask Lily Lewis's mom for help, the price being marrying Lily Lewis. But Lily Lewis's mom surprisingly disagreed. She said, even if my daughter marries, she will marry someone who truly loves her, not someone who looks as wronged as you do. So, he began to spend time with Lily Lewis, treating her well, and finally made Lily Lewis fall in love with him. He thought, even if he didn't love Lily Lewis, she was still a benefactor to their family. Out of responsibility and obligation, he would be good to Lily Lewis for his whole life. But Sarah Miller returned, and James Harrington couldn't control his heart. So when Robert Harrington seduced Lily Lewis, he implicitly allowed it. Lily Lewis finally gave up on him, but then he became unhappy again. He didn't know why, but after Lily Lewis's ADH, he finally understood. He had fallen in love with Lily Lewis. He just didn't want to admit it, and was afraid to admit it. And the consequence was that he had lost Lily Lewis forever. He knew Robert Harrington had also fallen in love with Lily Lewis. He was grief-stricken, yet still wanted to take responsibility and marry Sarah Miller. But Robert Harrington went crazy and started choking Sarah Miller. "What are you doing?" James Harrington thought his brother was just venting his anger wildly, but Robert Harrington pushed him away and continued questioning Sarah Miller. "You switched the USB drive, didn't you?" Sarah Miller's eyes darted away. "You gave me the USB drive," Robert Harrington shouted. "You recorded the things on the USB drive, didn't you?" Robert Harrington was crying uncontrollably. My heart tightened. "What do you mean? What are you talking about, brother?" Sarah Miller framed Lily. "She found the people, and she made the photos and videos. I knew it all along. I just thought Lily was easy to fool. I just her, and she wouldn't care about these things. I hid everything because I was afraid Sarah Miller would get hurt." James Harrington's throat tightened, his voice hoarse. "What are you saying?" He didn't want to believe it. He looked at Sarah Miller again, asking if it was true. "Of course it's not true, James. Don't listen to Robert." But the guilt on her face was completely exposed. James Harrington didn't know how he should feel. He covered his face and started to laugh. How ridiculous! In this whole affair, he, Robert Harrington, and Sarah Miller were none of them good people. They each schemed. But the one who left was the most innocent Lily Lewis. 14. When James Harrington looked without bias, everything surfaced. He looked at the truth that had been uncovered, his body trembling uncontrollably. Then, he raised his hand and slapped himself. It was his fault. He had wronged Lily Lewis. But no amount of regret could bring Lily Lewis back to life. He handed the truth over to the police station, and Sarah Miller went to jail. He spared no effort in suppressing the Miller family and the Lewis family. As Lily Lewis's father, he gave up his own daughter for a contract. He was not fit to be a father. The Lewis family was quickly crushed and went bankrupt. James Harrington then handed the company over to Robert Harrington and lay in the same bathtub where Lily Lewis had died, and killed himself. Lily, I wonder, have you swum to the ocean now? Robert Harrington had no ability to manage the company. James Harrington couldn't possibly not know this, but he still gave it to him. And Robert Harrington didn't refuse. The Harrington family quickly collapsed under his management. Finally, penniless, Robert Harrington only took the sunflowers he had planted with Lily Lewis. 15. When Robert Harrington died by the riverside, he saw two fish. The fish mom was always by the little fish's side. He looked at that little fish and felt a sense of closeness. He wanted to reach out and touch it, but the fish mom vigilantly pulled the little fish away. Robert Harrington lost consciousness too. That little fish was always accompanied by the fish mom, swimming happily in the water. Lily Lewis, you've swum out.